Throughout history, humans have engaged in some truly bizarre and astonishing traditions. From strange rituals to unique customs, the ancient world was full of surprising practices that can seem unbelievable today. Let's take a look at the top 10 most bizarre traditions from ancient times. At number 10. Imagine a sect of Hindu monks, known as the Agori, who believe that consuming human flesh brings them closer to spiritual enlightenment. These monks live by the Ganges River, where they perform rituals that involve eating the flesh of the deceased. They believe that by doing so, they can transcend the physical world and achieve a higher state of consciousness. The Agori's practices are rooted in the idea that nothing is impure and that embracing death and decay can lead to spiritual liberation. This tradition, while shocking to many, is a testament to the lengths some will go to in their quest for spiritual enlightenment. Next at number 9. In ancient Sparta, the survival of the fittest was taken to an extreme. Newborn infants were inspected by elders, and those deemed weak or deformed were thrown off a cliff known as the apotheti. This practice was intended to ensure that only the strongest and healthiest individuals would survive and contribute to Spartan society. The Spartans believed that this harsh practice would create a warrior society capable of defending their city-state against any threat. While this tradition may seem cruel by modern standards, it reflects the intense focus on strength and resilience that defined Spartan culture. At number 8. In medieval Europe, justice was often determined by a brutal method known as the trialbyordeal. This practice involved subjecting the accused to dangerous and painful tests to determine their guilt or innocence. One common ordeal was the trial by fire, where the accused would have to hold a red-hot iron or walk across burning coals. If their wounds healed quickly, they were deemed innocent; if not, they were considered guilty. Another ordeal was the trial by water, where the accused would be thrown into a body of water. If they floated, they were guilty; if they sank, they were innocent. These trials were based on the belief that divine intervention would reveal the truth, but in reality, they often led to severe injuries or death. At number 7. Sokushin butsu was a ritual practiced by certain Buddhist monks in Japan, where they would undergo a process of self-mummification. This involved years of extreme fasting, meditation, and consuming a special diet that would gradually desiccate their bodies. The monks would eventually enter a tomb and meditate until death, believing that this process would lead to enlightenment and eternal life. The practice was incredibly arduous and required immense discipline and dedication. Only a few monks successfully achieved self-mummification, and their preserved bodies were revered as holy relics. This tradition highlights the lengths to which some individuals will go in their pursuit of spiritual transcendence. At number 6. The Maya civilization, known for its advanced knowledge of astronomy and architecture, also practiced bloodletting rituals as a means of communicating with their gods. These rituals involved the use of sharp instruments, such as obsidian blades or stingray spines, to draw blood from various parts of the body, including the tongue, ears, and genitals. The blood was then offered to the gods in elaborate ceremonies, often involving music, dance, and incense. The Maya believed that blood was a powerful life force and that offering it to the gods would ensure the prosperity and well-being of their society. While these rituals may seem gruesome, they were an integral part of Maya religious and cultural life. At number 5. Footbinding was a painful and restrictive practice that began in ancient China and continued for centuries. Young girls, often as young as 5 or 6, would have their feet tightly bound with cloth to prevent them from growing. The goal was to achieve small, delicate feet, known as lotus feet, which were considered a mark of beauty and social status. The process was excruciating and often led to lifelong disabilities and health issues. Despite the pain and suffering, many families continued the practice in the hope of securing advantageous marriages for their daughters. Footbinding reflects the complex interplay between beauty, social status, and cultural tradition in ancient China. At number 4. In ancient Egypt, the pharaohs were considered divine beings who would continue to rule in the afterlife. To ensure they were well served in the next world, some pharaohs had their servants buried alive with them. These servants, often young and healthy, were expected to continue their duties in the afterlife, providing for the pharaoh's needs. This practice, known as retainer sacrifice, was believed to demonstrate loyalty and devotion to the pharaoh. While it may seem barbaric, it reflects the ancient Egyptians' deep belief in the afterlife and the importance of maintaining social order even in death. At number 3. The Viking bloodeagle was one of the most gruesome execution methods in history. According to legend, this ritual involved cutting the victim's back open and severing the ribs from the spine. The ribs were then spread out to resemble wings, and the lungs were pulled out and draped over the shoulders. This brutal method was intended to be a form of torture and humiliation, often reserved for enemies or traitors. While some historians debate the accuracy of these accounts, the blood eagle has become a symbol of the Vikings' fierce and ruthless reputation. It serves as a reminder of the harsh realities of life and death in the Viking Age. At number 2. Sati was a practice in ancient India where widows would self-immolate on their husband's funeral pyres. This act was considered the ultimate demonstration of wifely devotion and was believed to cleanse both the widow and her husband of their sins. The practice was rooted in the belief that a woman's life was inextricably linked to her husband's, and that her duty was to join him in death. While sati was praised in some texts as an act of virtue, it was also criticized and eventually banned due to its coercive and violent nature. The practice of sati reflects the complex and often oppressive gender dynamics in ancient Indian society. Finally, at number 1. In the world of the samurai, honor was everything. When a samurai's honor was tarnished, there was only one way to restore it: seppuku. Seppuku, also known as harakiri, was a form of ritual suicide practiced by samurai. It was a deeply solemn act, symbolizing the ultimate sacrifice for one's honor. The ritual involved self-disembowelment. The samurai would make a precise cut across the abdomen, a gesture of courage and resolve. To ensure a swift and honorable death, a trusted second, or kaishakunin, would then perform the final act, decapitation. This act of mercy spared the samurai prolonged suffering, completing the ritual with dignity. Seppuku was more than a death, it was a profound statement of loyalty, bravery, and the unyielding pursuit of honor. From deadly executions to extreme devotion, each of these bizarre customs gives us insight into how ancient people viewed life, death, and the world around them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more fascinating facts from the past.